welcome back to Business Owners Speak. Today, I'm thrilled to have with us Chris Vidal with ASM Sports. Chris, how are you today?
I'm doing good, Matt. Thanks for asking.
Pleasure to have you on. We appreciate you taking the time. So if you could, tell us a little bit about yourself and the business.
Yeah, I'm originally from the UK, but based out here now in West Palm Beach, Florida for the last kind of 10 years. Was a former collegiate athlete myself. I played golf to a very high standard back in the UK, came here on a golf scholarship. And yeah, during that journey, I kind of saw how difficult the college recruiting process was. So I kind of started my first business helping mainly athletes from Europe come over here. And then expanded internationally and into the US and fast track things forward. Ended up partnering with Ernie Els. We became business partners, and now we've made a full-fledged team here in West Palm Beach, helping over 1,000 athletes a year in this college recruiting process.
That's amazing. So where did you attend? Where did you play?
Yeah, so I was at Iowa. Yes. So when you were mentioning the Hawkeyes,
yeah, think fine.
Right. No, I mean, would I have gone there knowing what I know now? Probably not. But during that recruiting process, it's when you're from overseas, even seeing athletes in the US, like you're very limited to knowledge. You have a bit of an understanding, but when you actually understand how many schools there are, how many options there are, and what actually is right for you, I think that's one of the things we do very well here at ASM is we look at what are you looking for in a college? What are you looking for your career goals? And through our technology and our app, we find you the perfect fit and get you connected to that coach. You're not speaking to coaches that don't make sense for your programs that don't make sense for you.
Sure. Did you play for Terry Anderson?
No, I didn't. No.
Okay.
So that was before my time, I think.
Gotcha.
Yeah.
All right. Well, for those watching, I went to the rival school in Iowa, but that's okay. We're going to continue with the interview. All right, Chris. So walk us through did you say you had a different business at first that you partnered with Ernie, or is this kind of turned into this?
Yeah, so I actually started this business when I was in college. I was doing it from my dorm room, helping my friends come over. I was actually looking to transfer and go to schools in California and Florida, where I am now. And during that process, if I wasn't going to go to that school, I'd simply say to coach, look, I have another friend of mine who's a high-level player. You might be interested in him. And that's what allowed me to build my network and reputation in the industry.
Right.
Business I built for 10 years and sold that. And really because I met Ernie and saw a bigger picture where it was not just to do college recruitment, but also to do pro sports management and give a career path for these athletes coming through the system, an actual whole way to get what they really want, which is to be a pro. Yeah. So that's then how we started ASM. We've been doing this now for 5 years under ASM, but I've been doing this pretty much since 18 years old.
Wow. So what is some of that process? If you do it's not just find a college and we don't talk to you again. Like what's that relationship look like?
Yeah, 100%. So what we typically do is we find athletes from around 14 to 18. We start those relationships then. The younger, the better. Makes it way easier to get kind of what you're looking for. You have more time to plan, build relationships at schools. So the first bit is we help you get into college. Once we've done that, the great thing several years ago is we had the NIL come out, right? So before we could even do that, now we can. And we do a lot of deals for athletes in college. We help them with making money, getting their media situation right so they can maximize their college image, name, image, likeness. That helps us actually build a bigger relationship with them because we're making the players funds to then say, okay, what do we do after college? There's normally kind of 3 things are going to happen. They're either going to go pro, they're going to be good enough, or they're not going to go pro and get a job in the careers world. Or if they built a great name, image, and likeness, they can continue that kind of influence of their brand and have products down the line. So that's typically the 3 channels you see a player moving into. We try to be part of that journey. If they're going into the corporate world, we just simply pass them to partners we have that are very good at that. But when it comes to the pro management side of things, that's where we want to then represent that player and help them with their future career, endorsements, clubs, things like that.
Sure. Yeah, what a changing landscape you're probably navigating as all of the NCAA is. So for NIL, are you working deals with actual companies, or does it all have to go through the colleges?
It depends on the colleges. Some are trying to control that situation themselves. Some are not. Just really depends on the program.
Right.
We we pretty much represent the player. So if a player comes to us and says, hey, I got a company reach out to me, can you help? We'll take over, or we're bringing potential companies to the players directly and finding them the deals. It's a changing landscape. I mean, what's happened this year is different to last year, right? We see much more schools this year trying to control that situation. You see it more in American football and basketball, where that's happening, because that's really where the biggest deals are happening. Sports like golf, soccer, tennis, track, the schools aren't doing as much for the players. But I do think that's going to change as you see the process increase. But that doesn't mean the player can't have their own support system, their own team around them. And that's kind of where we step in as an advisory guidance. Like, we've known them for a long time. We're looking beyond college. The colleges are looking really at that player whilst they're in college, right? They're trying to maximize the earnings for the player, or even for the college, where we're looking at beyond that as well.
Sure. And you mentioned earlier the better. So if
Yeah.
I know a 14-year-old golfer who's playing in some high level tournaments and doing well would be a good introduction to you.
Yeah, because look, every player we kind of come across wants to play at the top powerhouse schools, right? I mean, and they should rightly so set their goals high. The challenge we see is to get into these big time programs, you have to have at least 3 to 4 years of a good progressive resume. So what happens a lot is we'll have players come to us at, say, 17 years old, and they want to go to, like, Florida State University, where we're based in Florida, or Stanford. And if you haven't got the resume to back that up, it's never going to happen. You're going to have to go to somewhere else and then transfer. If we get you early, we can help plan that for you, because we know exactly what these coaches want to see and what type of tournaments they want you to play in. So we can plan that for you and make sure you're doing the right things along the journey to increase your chances of that coach wanting to take you on a team.
Sure. And how's your breakdown on sports? Like, is it any sport? Do you have a special focus? Like, how does that work?
We do about 24 sports, so we pretty much everything. I'd say where we dominate right now is mainly because of the team. We have former college coaches working for us, and we're always recruiting new coaches to come work for us. We're kind of like the retirement home for coaches once they finish at college. They come work for us because they're like, this is a great place to be. I don't have to travel anymore. I can be in an office and still be involved in sports. And it's kind of like we've made the company a bit like a college, right? It's a fun place to be, all ex-athletes or coaches. But the most coaches we have on a team are ex-soccer coaches. So we have ex-D1, D2s. So we dominate in soccer. We get a lot of international talent, a lot more American talent now. I think since the Messi effects come into play, more and more players want to play soccer. So that's definitely our number one sport by a mile. And then golf, obviously, having Ernie involved. Track and field, swimming, big for us as well. Rugby is a huge one for us as well. But we are seeing a massive increase right now of American football and basketball. We've got some new coaches on board that have been doing fantastic things in that space as well.
So you mentioned your team. I'm curious what the makeup of the team is. What kind of positions do you have that really help drive the business forward?
Yes, we have like two real main core divisions, which is our recruiting team and then a kind of our coach placement team. To be in our coach placement team, you have to be a former college coach. We see the value of them, their knowledge, their network, advising our athletes and parents. Having been through that process themselves, having been in that coach, they know how to advise those athletes the right way, and also deliver kind of news sometimes to the players, like get more realistic in your approach, right? If you're going too high, this is what I'd recommend being a coach, or what you would need to do to get a coach of that caliber to be interested in you. And because these coaches are calling their current friends who are still coaching, we are going to get that player to the top of the list. We want to make sure when we're recommending a player, we're not wasting that coach's time. These are our networks and reputation on the line. So we're very successful in that approach because of those coaches. The first part of that, before we even get the player in, is the recruiting, right? We are actively looking for players that we can represent, that we know these coaches are going to want to take on and place. So our recruiters typically are ex-athletes. They've been through the system. They know what it's to look for. We're not having a, say, golf recruiter looking for a bowling player. They don't really know that sport. So all our recruiters are specialists in their own rights for the sports that they recruit in.
Interesting. Okay. And as far as divisions do you go D1 all the way down to JUCO and NAIA and stuff?
We have players in D1, D2, D3. Even though there's no scholarships in D3, it's still a placement. We look for academic funds for the players. We did have Ivy League schools with a ton of players at Ivy League. I mean, pretty much if a school's in a university system here in America and they're part of the NCAA network or the NIA network, we'll find a home for a player.
Okay. I'm curious just about parents, right?
Mhm.
Because all parents want what's best, but not all parents know that they don't know necessarily what's going to be best. So
Yeah.
what is some of the things you see that maybe parents are trying to do something, but it's actually maybe hurting the kids' chances, or just some regular advice for parents to kind of navigate this kind of very confusing process if they have a good athlete?
Yeah, I'd say I don't think parents do this because they're doing a mistake. It's just they just don't know,
Right.
right? So I think what we see a lot of times of parents are trying to be too forceful in getting a coach to make an offer for their son or daughter. So what will happen a lot of times is, they'll go to showcase events, they'll go to camps, and they'll go up to the coach and say, "Hey, come watch my son or daughter." That's not a good approach. But just being too pushy in the process. I mean, a coach doesn't want to recruit the parent, wants to recruit the athlete. So the athlete needs to be the one making the most action steps, right? Reaching out, doing all the proactive, not your mum and dad. That's what we see normally is wrong. Or if there's an interview happening, I'm the athlete, mum's here, dad's here, and it's meant to be an interview between me and the coach. So, they might have heard the phrase helicopter parents.
Mm-hmm.
That's kind of, you don't want to be that. You do want to be involved, and there's certain times for sure to be involved in that process, because it is obviously a decision as a family where you go to college.
Mm-hmm.
But the coach doesn't want to bring a player on where they think mum and dad's going to be calling them every single weekend saying, why was my son or daughter not picked for the team?
Right. Right.
Right. It's knowing how much to be involved in. Help, but not too much help.
Sure. And it seems like you've probably built a fun culture, and like you said, I'm sure it's an entertaining place to work. How do you and your team really judge success? Like, what does success really look like when it comes to the kids?
Definitely placements. I mean, the reason why we created this business was to help athletes in this recruitment journey. And for us, every athlete that comes to us, we want to see them at a school. That's what motivates us every day. We've have athletes that have come from as young as 14, 13 years old, go to great schools and make it into the Olympics, make it professionally in professional sports. That excites us. We're not here to give false promises to athletes and sell them a dream. A lot of times we are kind of being almost too honest and saying, like, sorry, dude, like, you're way off that. It hurts to do that, but you got to do that so they understand this is what it's going to take if I want to get to my dream school.
Yeah.
So success for us is placements, seeing athletes do well in college. That's everything to us, because without that, they're never going to get to the next step, which is being a pro athlete or beyond that.
Sure. And that honesty is so important, because the time that they're trying to knock on the wrong door, they could be using that energy on the right door, which if they don't, that opportunity could pass by. So remember going through the process and having some coaches that, kind of tag you along versus the ones that were super honest and say, there's not going to be a spot here. So
100%.
yeah.
Yeah. I mean, we look at recruitment in two ways. We look at, look, we never want to kill your dreams. We encourage them, but let's build a strategy and a plan how to achieve that. So we look at, okay, what are your kind of dream schools, your plan A schools? And then what are your plan B schools? So right now you're probably in the plan B list. So let's start selecting universities that make sense for what you want to study and where you want to be. But if we can't get those plan A, we know the plan B is going to happen. So then we can make the strategy for plan A, which is going to be, okay, we need to do these tournaments, we need these results, these rankings, this GPA. And if we can do that, and then we can show the coaches your progression, fantastic. We're going to have a much higher chance of getting those coaches to say yes. Worst case, if you just miss a few, still go to a plan B school and then transfer 2 years later, that coach already knows who you are. So you're more on the radar list. So it's just being reasonable and understanding that landscape. And then you can always get what you want if you work towards it.
Yeah. And thinking about the future of your business, is there agent type work in the future? Because the relationship you're cultivating from such a young age, right? The trust and the loyalty, and then mix in the NIL work, right? That has kind of come out of nowhere. What's next phase? Or are you just satisfied doing what you're doing?
No, for us, we have big ambitions. We got private equity funding last year. We're going for our venture capital this year, which is going very, very well. We're trying to, with our recruiting side, college side, digitalize the business. So we're going to do the technology. We have an app already out in the App Store where we're making it more like a LinkedIn, but for recruitment. So we can help even more athletes at a lower cost ratio. And we have free services as well. So anyone who's thinking about getting into college, definitely use that app. It's a great tool. We have all the coaches on there. And then from there, those players that then get into colleges, that's where we want to have that more one-on-one experience where we can help manage them with the NIL onto being a pro athlete one day. So we definitely want to rival the big pro management agencies. In 5 years, that's our goal. And we want to have champions in sport, people that future role models that these kids look up to. We want to have the best of the best with us.
Yeah, very cool. All right, Chris. So as a business owner and someone that's navigated a couple different businesses and found success, what's some advice or words of wisdom you would provide to other kind of newer business owners trying to find their way?
Have a goal that you want to achieve and expect a lot of hard work, but enjoy the journey. I think for me, I've always had the vision goal, work towards it. You're going to get knocked down, you're going to get failure along the way, but learn every step from that and keep going. If you want to achieve it, you will. The only way it doesn't happen is because you quit. So, you can't quit, don't quit. You're going to get there eventually. It just might take a bit longer, but always keep learning as well. Learn from others that be more successful than you. And you won't know everything, but that's what people like you're making this channel to spread knowledge is useful to other CEOs and who want to be successful.
Great stuff, and really cool business, and helping a lot of parents and kids navigate that uncomfortable and confusing process. So Chris Vidal with ASM Sports, thank you so much for your time today. We really appreciate it. Enjoyed having you on.
Thank you, Matt. Appreciate you.